Heather, we're going to call the meeting to order, please.
Okay. So roll call is Armstrong, Butler, Essig, here, Fisher, McNett, here, Knopfinger, here, Ward.
Here. Is there anyone to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
It's us.
All right. Can everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, summer meeting, we have quite a few people gone on vacation, but we do have enough for a quorum tonight. So we'll just go down the list here of our agenda. Visitors and correspondence. Mr. Troy Reed, did you want to approach the board tonight?
No, I think we'd like to maybe do that at another time. In
All
light
right.
of,
Okay.
Mr. Reed and I were talking a little bit beforehand. They may have some information that they want to send out to you ahead of time. Anything they send to me, I'll get to you very quickly so that you're able to see it. And I'll send it to the whole board.
Okay. Well, I know you're welcome to address the board anytime. Go ahead. You can.
If I could, I would. Daryl Crouch. And I just wanted to talk to you guys a little bit from the track standpoint.
Can you stand up just a minute just so that we can hear what you have to say?
We like that deep note.
Just from the track standpoint, like I wasn't at your guys' earlier meetings, but I know in our original proposal that with bleachers, everything else, we had talked about going to 2 lanes in the straightaway with our stadium. And whether that ends up in this proposal or not, I think you need to really think hard about where those bleachers sit, because if you don't put them in the right place, you're going to lose that chance. Like if you're like, don't have the money now and you're going to wait, if you don't move those back, you're going to lose that opportunity because you're going to be super landlocked. And just talking from our program standpoint of where we're at, Coach Stevens is one of my assistants. We were at 108 boys this year. And the girls were in the
How many
mid,
boys?
108 boys, and there were mid 80 in the girls. So that's 200 kids that you're trying to work through when you're out there on a track on that day. And some of the other things to think about down the road, and if Herb was here, I would have him talk to some of it, but we've gone from a school that at one time hosted the state track meet here for the IESA, that we don't have that capability because we're a 6-lane track, but we can't even host our own conference meet. We had to use Eastside this year, because at least if you had an 8-lane straightaway, you could run all the sprints and run everything that way, and then you could carry out the rest of your meet on those 6 lanes. It would drag the meet out a little bit longer still, but I just think that's something you all need to think about as you're moving forward through your projects here of don't landlock yourself, and is it feasible to add 2 lanes on one side or the other so that you can at least have the sprints. I know we have a couple teams, like the majority of our teams out of our conference are probably 8 lanes, but the ones that aren't have at least gone to that 8-lane straightaway model so that they have a chance to do that. So, and I was on vacation, I think the last time you guys met, I didn't have a chance to talk to that, so I just wanted to stop and just bring that up.
We did have Farnsworth. We did get a new architect firm, and they are looking at that. It's not part of this specific bid proposal, but they're getting together something that would address those issues. So we are aware of it, and I know it was on the last print, but it just was not working out. They're going to give us some other options of how they can expand it.
Research.
So we've asked Farnsworth to do a study on it. The distance from the track by the bleachers is still acceptable, because we didn't move the bleachers any closer to the track, so there should be room for...
In the new project.
Yeah.
Adding 2 lanes?
Yes, there should be room for that.
Is track a cut sport, or can anyone be in track that tries out or attends?
You only end up cut on your own prerogative. Behavior will get you cut, other things, but no, it works just like football. We don't really cut in football either. It depends on a lot of other factors, from grades to behavior to attendance.
Sure, but I was kind of wonder that if someone tried out and say they...
Right. Even if you're the slowest person, we're going to keep you in track.
All right. Well, hopefully I'm not that.
So the one part that they have to really look into is how to get it to fit, and where the problem sits is how close the Panthroplex is to the track right there. So that's what they have to really look into to figure out, how do you shift things to get it to fit? So And you know this, Mr. Crouch, you can stop in, I can kind of lay out what happened. This isn't the time or place for me to go into great
No,
detail.
and I just want to make sure you guys understood that,
Yeah.
because I don't know if that ever gets passed along of where we're at number-wise, the things that we have going on out there, and
Still on the agenda.
It is. Actually, I talked to Farnsworth today. They were here for a different meeting, and they are starting that process now,
okay,
so.
thank you.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to address the board? Mr. Reed did talk to you and take care of that. I was part of listening to the presentation that you did, I don't know how many years ago it was, 6 or 7 years ago.
It's been a while.
I do recall that, and we do have new board members since then, so any messages you can relay on to Dr. Freeman would be appreciated.
Okay. For sure.
It would be advantageous for all the boards to hear the presentation. And they're all here.
Yeah, that was, I guess, our main concern. I expressed that with Dr. Freeman, that not all the board members are here, so not everybody has heard that presentation. And try to go through, you know, some of the accomplishments that we've had as groups, whether it's the 12th man and the Panther football alumni. And then, but secondly, just kind of hearing where some of the quote, where the bids have come in already to be over where they were expected, especially on the bleacher side, that kind of maybe we were making a presentation that was really maybe going to be a futile attempt anyway, in light of, you know, some of the numbers coming in where they have, I guess. So, not really sure where to take it from here.
Well, it's always good to share information.
Okay.
That's if we don't know, we don't know, so that's good. And we do appreciate the 12th man and all that they do for WCHS, because you guys do a big part of football and other sports too. So. Any other ones would like to address the board? Okay. Moving on to 4.2, Good Neighbors Day letter. Dr. Freeman, did you want to talk about that?
It was attached in there. It was
Okay.
just kind of a thank you for your support.
Okay. And they did have, the Rotary had the pancake breakfast here.
They did, went
Nice
really
turnout.
well. Yep. I think the numbers were down a little bit this year, but it sounds like they were kind of down across the board. So that wasn't too much of a surprise. But all in all, I think the Rotary did pretty well on that pancake breakfast with the reports we heard.
The people really appreciate the facility a lot.
It is a nice place to sit down
It
and
is.
visit, and usually the pancakes are pretty good. I wasn't at this one, but
They do, and I'll tell you what else, the sausage is really good.
okay. Moving on to 4.3, is there any other? Okay. Moving on to reports, 5.1, Dr. Joe Sanders.
Okay, so you have your financial report and treasurer's report. I'm going to spend just a little bit of time going through the financial snapshot. This is, we made it. We made it through another fiscal year. This isn't audited results, but they're very favorable. Up here, I just have 2 notes of things that have happened since we last met. You can read those at your leisure. But if we take a look at the monthly scorecard for as of June 30th, we've closed out the year, so when your expenditures are well underneath your revenues, it was a good year. You got to keep in mind, we had $3.5 million that we had in bond proceeds. But if you back out that $3.5 million, we're still ahead of our revenues than we were on the expenditures. And then you can see the comparative to the previous year. Included in this is the transfer that the board did, the $1.5 million from the Ed Fund to the O&M Fund. And so that is in there. And so it was really a pretty good year. I've got some other information here. I had Julie run a preliminary report across all funds. And it looks like we're going to finish the year between the Ed Fund and the O&M Fund with a surplus of, let's just say, just under $1 million of, budgeted, or we didn't spend more than what we took in, okay? And so, budget balance. And so that's really good. The building fund, keep in mind, we had $275,000 designated for future projects, and we had $200,000 in contingency money, of which we didn't spend. So there's almost $500,000 right there, but we didn't spend it, so that's good, okay? This is a breakout where we finished the year by like transportation. If if you look at what we had budgeted in expenses to the actual, that's a good year for transportation. I just wanted to hit on that because the transportation fund continues to be managed quite well. We maintain an outstanding fleet, and we don't get anywhere near what our total budgeted expenses are in that fund. So the investment report, this is what we have total in investments. This bond proceed right here is now at $3,511,000 as of June 30th. So we've made $11,000 on our investment. Not a lot of money, but that's all money that can go back to the project in some sort of capacity when we get time to spend that money. And finally, I'm going to finish up here with our insurance report. This is great to see, our break-even point, which is this dark line, is just under $200,000. And anytime you have 4 months of insurance expenses that are below that line is a good deal. And so we hope that this trend continues. This means that the health trust is maintaining its solvency, that the good planning that we've been doing and all the changes continue to be quite beneficial. So I do want to say that we will not be having an insurance committee meeting this Wednesday. Laura Ream's going to be sending out an email on that, but we're just going to push that to the next month because it's just going to be a numbers update. So I'll send that information out to the insurance committee. So that's the financial report. Do you have any questions?
Thank you for putting that together. It's easier to follow the spreadsheets that you
Sure.
do. So. Any other questions for Dr. Silver? Okay, moving on to 5.2, the orange and black and white card history. Dr. Freeman, can you tell us about that?
You have a copy of that report in there. It just kind of talks through how the year ended up. The number of black cards, orange cards, white cards. It's broken down by class and then the total. So I'll just hit on a highlight. 58% of our students participated in the orange, black, or white card program this year, which is good because that ties in academics, it ties in behavior, and it ties in attendance. So all three of those things are considered. Probably the most important thing that this card program really targets is attendance, which, by the way, is also the number one factor in whether or not students are passing and failing. If you were to really look at the correlation, kids that are not at school have a much, much, much greater chance of failing than students that are here. So any incentive we can do to keep the kids here means that they will do better in the long run. So that's the program as a whole. We review all of this annually and talk about ways that we can tweak the program, and we make changes pretty close to annually since I've been here at least. Little tweaks here and there to try to make the program better and more sustainable and something that better fits our students. So there will be committee meetings to discuss all of this in greater detail in the future.
I really appreciate you following up this way in the report because it has been a successful incentive program for our students. But I think we need to watch patterns because sometimes programs get a little stale. We need to look at something else because we want to keep that incentive high. So far, this is working, and that's good. But I like the fact that we're keeping up on it and not letting it just sit there saying, well, we did this and it seems good because we have facts and figures.
So we've done this program for about 12 years.
It's been here a while, yes.
Okay. Any other questions about the black and orange and white card history? Moving on to board committees. We did not have any board committees that met, but we will be setting up a facilities committee and a goal planning.
When did curriculum meet? Has it been since the last?
We did have a curriculum.
I think we covered it the last
Yeah, I
meeting.
think we covered it the last one.
Okay, I thought that was.
Let me look.
June,
did.
well, it's June 19th.
Yeah, we did, because I remember it.
Jennifer or Lori, would you like to?
And I can't pull up my notes on here, so we talked about a lot, I think.
We did, that was a
I
long
can't-
involved meeting because it covers a lot of things in the school. We talked a lot about professional development. think of some of the other things that we've covered too.
I think professional
I
development,
think
we
that
talked
was
a little
a
bit
big
about
part.
board goals.
Right, tied in with,
Yeah, so we talked about, we talked about programming, where we wanted to go with programming in the future. Talked a lot about CTE, career technical education. We did talk about, and that caught me before vacation, so.
Right, yeah. It was a good meeting. I think Karen just really kind of got us up to date on what's, like I said, what's happening in professional development.
Yeah, she laid out the 6-year plan, which we do have a nice PowerPoint on that we can go through. And then, I think really that was the majority.
Survey nine.
And we did discuss a little bit AP middle credit classes.
Yes, we did.
And also strong start with ICC and some of those programs.
Where we've come.
So, yeah, that's what I kind of remember.
But so it was a long meeting.
Okay. Was there any other committee meetings that, I don't think there was. We had the regular board meeting was June 11th, and curriculum was the only one after that. Okay. But we will be scheduling the facilities and also finishing up our goal planning session shortly, as soon as we can get everyone back from vacation. Okay, moving on to discussion items. 6.1, addition and bleacher projects. Dr. Freeman, you want to give us an update of the bid openings and all that kind of thing?
Sure. The bids were open on Tuesday of last week. We had, I want to say, don't hold me to this, but I think there were 15 individual parts to this contract, because remember, when we hired PJ Hare, they're kind of serving both as our CM, but they do a lot of the GM jobs, which means they're bidding out the different trades. Some of them came in well below what we expected, some of them came over what we expected, and so right now, PJ Hare is working on trying to figure out how to value engineer some more money out so that it's a little less. It's not a bad place. The bids, I would give you an exact bid amount, but they changed yesterday and could have changed again today. So it's a little fluid right now where we're at as they talk to contractors and look through bids and make sure that, for example, there weren't any errors in some of the bids. Some of the lowest bidders could have doubled up on things or could have small errors that are being addressed now. So we hope to give them a little bit of time to kind of iron all that out. And I'd asked earlier in the year for the board to send me updates on when you'd be available in July. So I built a calendar based on that. July 19th looks like a date where we should have everybody. And I sent that out in the Friday letter. Everybody seems pretty receptive to a special meeting on the 19th to award bids. On top of that, the 18th is also an open date, and that will be a good date to have the facilities committee meeting. My concern trying to do that near the end of this week, right now we have a quorum, but believe it or not, starting either tomorrow or Wednesday, we can't even get a quorum. We have people out, and that goes on through the middle of next week. So Monday and Tuesday are rough also, so the earliest we could possibly meet would be Wednesday to get everybody here that needs to be here for those discussions. So that would be the plan. Facilities committee meeting on the 18th, special board meeting on the 19th. And if possible, we'll cover goals then too. It just depends on how involved the conversation on the bids gets.
So the PJ here and Farnsworth are vetting the bids and making sure that everyone has documentation of what exactly they bid and
Yes.
and the specs and everything as well. I know there's a lot to go into that because there's a lot of bidding information in those bids.
There was quite a bit. And like I said, some things came in very favorable, and then some things didn't. It's just the way it is.
Depends on who's busy with work
Yeah.
and who's not.
Yep.
We did get numerous people bidding the project though, too, correct?
I think we had around 100 people there that day.
It took us, I want to say, more than an hour just to read the bids, open them,
Nice.
and it was one right after the other. We had 15 different packets. And so it was a really good response, but then it was really all over the board because we didn't get any flooring bids. And so, that really didn't make a lot of sense. I mean, something as simple as doing flooring, and that one wasn't included, so.
Who needs floors?
Polished concrete, right?
Yeah.
So,
That is a little odd.
Yeah.
Strange.
Maybe they're just, the flooring people are so busy right now, or maybe they didn't want to get involved with
I don't
the
know.
school or. Okay. What do you do about a case like that, then put it out for bid again for the floors?
We can, yeah. I think they're reaching out to a couple of the flooring companies and probably the lowest general to talk to them about, you know, because the general contractor usually can handle flooring, so that was part of the surprise. I don't know what to say about it. So yes, we could put out the bids on that. And one of the things that both Farnsworth and PJ Hare said was flooring is pretty late in the whole building project, so putting it out for bid later is not a big deal. So,
Any other questions about the new addition and bleacher projects for Dr. Freeman or Dr. Seaver? Okay, we'll wait to your direction and see when we can get together for a facilities meeting and go through more accurate bids
Mhm.
and numbers. Okay. Moving on to 6.2, the county sales tax.
do you have that email, Joe? I do, if you want me to send it to you real quick.
You don't mind? Is it from Dale?
It is. Here.
Sorry, I'm on the wrong computer.
Just so you can throw it up. We've got a real quick 3-slide presentation.
Okay.
I just sent it to you. It's just bouncing around inside right now.
Is it an attachment?
It is. Technology's wonderful.
We're waiting. So when this changes to 12, someone holler at me. So, is it a link?
It shouldn't be a link. It came to me as a PDF. And it would have been sent 6 days ago, July 3rd.
Okay. July 3rd. Very
There it
good.
is.
Done.
Okay, I can stand up and go through this or sit. So, here are the things that they wanted to point out. What is going on is the county school districts are now talking about the potential of running that 1-cent sales tax on the general ballot again in November. Okay, and the purpose behind that would be to allow some of the sales tax revenue that we earn through all of the stores in the county to go back to the schools. But it's specifically aimed at buildings and grounds, so it has to be part of your facilities. As you can see, Peoria is the most recent one to pass it. They passed it just the last election cycle. We're almost completely surrounded by folks who have that county sales tax. The other thing that's being discussed in Springfield at this point is the potential of using some of those funds for security purposes. For example, paying for an SRO. That would be really big for some of the elementary districts. We've been able to do it, but boy, it'd be nice to have the help to also cover the cost of that, because that's not a cheap program for us. It's a good one. We need to continue it because we want to look out for the best interests of our kids and make sure that we have somebody here who can help protect them in a worst case scenario. But that's what this discussion is all about. So you can see that it's been tried twice in Tazewell County and failed twice. So whether it passes or not will be an interesting thing, but I do think you're going to see a lot of push from neighboring school districts. We've been talking as superintendents, and I know that there are a lot of school districts that are on board with this now that weren't even 6 months ago. So can you scroll down for me? Sure. So what does it mean to Washington 308? This is very tiny, so I'll give you just a quick read once I can find it.
Right here.
That threw me off. So we are looking at the potential of, based on our per capita, that's how it's distributed. They take all the sales tax in the county and then divide it up by the number of students that you have. It's done through the ROE's office. we'd be looking at an increase in revenue of $936,000 a year that goes straight into things like building projects. You can also use it to pay for bond payments that went to building projects. For example, the $3.5 million that we're putting into our additional work. So those are things that are nice that can be done with that sales tax revenue.
So that's what they're estimating for a year if
Yes.
that sales tax. So that's not divided about with District 50, 51, and 52. They have their own.
They have their own, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Every district in Tazewell County.
They're
is-
listed up
What
there at the
are
top.
can you read those, what the other districts would
Top
have?
What it says for
So it's,
50 is 502,000, for District 51, 889,000, and District 52, 600, and move the cursor down for me, 3.
so that's pretty substantial for those districts also.
Yes. Yes. A good number of us are in the middle of building projects. 50's working on some stuff. I know 51 has a big one coming up, so all of this could be used to help offset some of the costs that have gone to local taxpayers. What's nice about the sales tax is it's not necessarily just people that live in your community. We have a lot of people that shop in our community from outside communities. They come to Walmart, they come to Menards, they come to our local stores. Any sales tax that we gather then could go back to our schools, even from people outside of our community. That's the nice thing.
This isn't on, if it passes, is it year after year, or does it have a limit?
No, it's
It's indefinite.
indefinite until it's voted out.
So how does it get on the ballot?
There's a resolution that needs to be passed by the majority of by the schools that represent the majority of the students in the county. So whether we pass it as a board or not, if the majority of the school districts in the county want to have it and their boards pass it, it will be on the ballot. But I would suggest that it will be a good thing for us, a good thing for our taxpayers. Because we have talked about tax rates of ways that you can abate. This is a good way to abate. Another thing that's nice about this is the bonding potential that you can use with this. There are things out there called double barrel bonds where you can bond against this without ever increasing taxes.
I wonder, two rather new developments in this community might be incentives for people to change their vote from nay last time to yay again. One is the public's awareness of the growing schools in this district.
Yes.
I mean, we're always facing, how do we deal with more students coming into our schools, programs, teachers, and expensive items? And if we can make them aware that, yes, we are growing. Look at Central, they've way outgrown their facility. That's one thing. The other thing is the security issue. I mean, you can't pick up the paper without reading on and on of people being killed, but we're especially concerned about school sites.
It's scary. It's
It
scary.
is.
you know.
And obviously, the more help we can get to secure our students' safety, we want it.
I mean, on April 20th, we stopped classes and actually spent time training in class on security.
You never know.
It seems to be one of those things that we always need to be aware of and making sure that our facility is secure as possible. There's a lot of fear out there, and I hear from a lot of parents, and I get emails and I get stopped in stores, and I'm sure you do as well, on that very topic. What are we doing to protect our kids? And we're pretty blessed. I think we've done a lot of great things security-wise. We could always do better. There's still things that need to be done, and one of our biggest threats to security are the great kids that walk the halls every day, who are very likely, if somebody's knocking on the door, to let them in. And that's your biggest breach right there. So talking through that with kids and constantly working through all of these things, those are important parts, but there are other things we could do to better secure our kids.
Mental health, too, is another aspect of this, that you don't address mental health issues without money to resolve them.
Sure. The only problem is with this particular revenue, it really is targeting your facilities.
Right.
So that's where it would have to go, but it doesn't just have to be for security purposes. It can be for general needs. Believe it or not, it can be for bleachers, it could be for track, it could be for the things we are discussing right now. And so that's why it's a valuable source of revenue. So, you know, as a school person, would I like to see it? Sure, absolutely. But that's up to the voters, that's when you put it on the ballot.
So as a board, we would have to vote for the resolution, and then we would be in the pool of the whole entire county
Yes,
majority to get it onto the ballot, and then at the ballot, then the voters would decide if it would be passed or not.
correct. So if you scroll down, I'll talk to you about timelines.
Okay.
So in order to get it on the November ballot, which is kind of the most recent push, I know that there are a number of superintendents talking to their boards about this right now. To pass the resolution, that has to occur by August 20th. So here it is as an information item. So next month, we'll put this up as an action item, and we'll have the resolution included in the documents. I can send that out to you also. I didn't have it for tonight, but I'll make sure I get a copy of it so you can see what it has to say. And then you can see the other things that have to occur. Certify the resolution by the county clerk no later than August 29th. Publish the notice of proposition, which all is done through the papers, October 26th through September 7th, then the election. You can see if we keep moving down a little bit, you'll see that once it's filed with the Illinois Department of Revenue to enact the tax, the sales tax will go into effect if approved in the November election, July 1st of next year. And we would receive our first funds 90 days after that approval. So that's how quickly this one operates. It's not like the levy where we levy in December, we don't really see that for a long time. This is 90 days later, we're starting to get revenue from something that was approved.
Have the counties that passed this actually getting the money from the
Yes.
state? Okay.
It's not from the state, it's actually, it's taken straight out of the sales tax revenue and goes straight to the ROEs, so the state's kind of cut out of that a little
Do you
bit.
think we could use any of that money retroactively?
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes, and see, that's what I was saying, because we still have bond debt out for the addition that tied the buildings together. We'll have bond debt out there for the new addition. All of that can be targeted with this, so that's a good thing. And that anytime you lower those bond payments, what you're doing is actually abating taxes for people. Because then that bond goes down, so the county's not charging as much for bonds to the taxpayers. So that could actually drop your tax rate.
We lose nothing by passing this.
No, we lose nothing. As a matter of fact, I will say they've done a lot of research on this. There's always concern that you're going to lose business. Communities that have passed this haven't lost business. They've actually, in some cases, gained it. Because people now realize some of their sales tax money is going to the schools. So that's been kind of a plus. So these are just disclosures and making sure that I called to get permission to give this tonight, which I did, so we're good. It was 3 slides. Any questions?
Thanks for the presentation.
Yes.
Do you know what the past votes have been? I mean,
It hasn't been super close because there are a couple communities who have definitely come out against it, but even in those communities, they're seeing a change in tide because of the state of facilities for their schools. And people are talking seriously about referendums and increasing taxes, and this looks like a good way to kind of improve that. So if we do end up getting this on the ballot, there will be a push to kind of get out and mobilize people to really consider voting yes. You know, I can't do it out of my position, but there will be other groups that can. So those will be conversations that
So it's a full 1% increase in sales tax, or are they taking it from somewhere else?
it's just a 1 cent. It's not done in percentages, it's
Okay.
done in how much. And I don't know if they're looking at the full 1 cent or if they're looking at a half cent right now. I think when we talked about it, it was talking about the full 1 cent, but you may see a deal struck somewhere that drops that to maybe even a half cent, but 450,000, we'll take that.
Yeah.
That'd be nice. So,
Any other questions for Dr. Freeman? All right, thank you for
Okay.
your presentation.
I can't take credit for it. It was
What do you think?
produced by Stiefel Nichols.
That's okay. Moving on to 6.3, the intervention coordinator job description. Did you want to give us a little background or information on that?
Well, I just like, might want to take a look at the job description. I know there's been some conversation. We talked about, and boy, I guess it would have been back in February, we talked about a staffing plan, and I talked about 2 potential part-time positions. This is one of the 2. And this would just tell you, because I think you've had some questions about what would this person actually do? Well, here's the job description. So that should be a big help. We're looking at a 100-day job. We haven't posted yet, but do plan on posting soon for this position.
Which we
And
probably should do pretty soon, because this
It'll
is a
be
tall
soon.
order, right? This
Well-
job is not going to be,
it is, but it's not, because there are some people with some really good talents that are out there that are interested, we find. So,
Well, and I saw another component of what you shared that I hadn't realized before, and an area I know we need help with, and that was teacher evaluation.
yep.
So that's going to help too, the evaluation role that the administration has.
is that, the evaluations has to be done by an administrator?
No.
It does not.
Has to be done by somebody who actually completes the evaluation training,
Okay.
which is many hours of looking at classrooms that are literally this big, trying to figure out if that kid way in the corner that's about this big really did throw that paper wide or not. Trust me, I sat there, they're painful.
Is it a video they have to send?
Yes.
So is that something we can
Whole
train someone
series
to
of
do?
Yes,
Okay. So we don't necessarily have to have someone who's done that before. It could be someone
correct.
that we send to the training or
Mhm.
they get to watch the video or whatever. Okay.
Mhm.
All right, thank you. Moving on to 6.4, the adjusted rate schedule for Miller, Hall, and Triggs, and that's,
Shoot. Yep. Steve had asked me for something, I just remembered he asked me for it, so I'll get it to you. He asked what the previous rates were, which is always a good thing.
Yeah.
And I should know that, but,
But they were less.
yeah, they were last.
it should be posted in.
That should be, yeah, in last year's agenda.
Any other questions about that? Moving on to 6.5, the FOIA vendor information sheet. You included that,
I just try to make sure that's a good way to show that you've been informed.
and they've been responded to and okay. Moving on to 6.6, the resignation of Jacob Springs, assistant boys swim coach. 6.7, resignation of Taryn Butler, assistant girls soccer coach. 6.8, resignation of Sue Ricky, costume coordinator. 6.9, the resignation of Nicole Ladata, school counselor. And 6.10, the resignation of Vance Shoemaker, math teacher. And you want to talk about that? Any of those? All of them?
Well, you hate to see any resignations, but it's that time of year, we get a lot of them, and we have to act quickly. So we posted for probably the 2 big ones that would draw the most concern would be school counselor and math teacher. You need those when the year starts. We've been receiving applications for both, so that'll close in about a week, and we'll start talking through it with them, and hopefully bring somebody in to hire at the July, or the August meeting.
You have time to interview and...
Yeah, it'll be quick, but we'll get it done.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda for July 2018 would be the minutes of 7.11 Facilities Committee meeting minutes of May 30th, 2018. 7.12 the regular board meeting minutes of June 11th, 2018. 7.13 the Curriculum Committee meeting minutes of June 19, 2018. And 7.14 the executive session meeting minutes of June 11th, 2018. And the bill 7.2. Is there a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Essig,
Yes.
McNett,
Yes.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you. Moving on to action items for personnel. Get it up on my computer. Going into, I did the bills with it, so, yeah. Moving on to action, personnel job descriptions, so we have 8.11A, approved job description for the student personnel secretary for Skyward and technology secretary.
Okay, so tech secretary, actually, we've kind of had this position, but we're trying to iron out more cleanly what that position entails. We're looking for somebody to come in and kind of make sure that things are moving well in this department right now. That's what the job description is.
Okay. I saw there was some cleanup from the prior job.
Yes, and that's really what it was, is kind of cleaning up that job description to better fit what.
Is this a new position, or we're
No.
kind of just filling in
Yes,
for some of them? So we just adjusted the job description?
yes.
My computer went down here just a second. So the recommendation is the WCH Board of Education approve the updates of the job description for the student personnel secretary, now Skyward, and technology secretary as presented. Is there a motion to approve as recommended?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
McNabb,
Yes.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Essek.
Yes.
Motion carries. 8.12, appointment of certified personnel. 8.12A, employment of Joanna Allen, the social studies teacher. The recommendation is for Board of Education to approve the employment of Joanna Allen as social studies teacher for the 2018-19 school year as salary as negotiated contract. Is there a motion to accept it as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Further discussion? Do you want
We were adding some new teachers in some areas, but we've also had some resignations. Is this a new teacher with our growing enrollment replacement?
I believe this one's a replacement. Yes. this is-
Okay, that's
Yes.
right, because she resigned last month. Okay. Yes.
to, did you have a nice turnout for applicants?
We had a pretty decent turnout. What we needed, though, was we had to have a master's degree in history so that they could teach a dual credit course that we offer. And so we only had about 3 applicants that applied to. But Joanna did a great job in the interview. We're looking forward to working with her. She'll be a great addition.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Essek.
Yes.
McNabb.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. 8.13, approve employment of non-personnel for 9.13A, employment of Greg Harrison for Skyward and Technology Secretary. Greg Harrison.
To fill in the job description.
That's correct.
Okay.
So moved.
And second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Roll call, please.
Ward,
Yes.
Essek.
Yes.
McNabb,
Yes.
Knopfinger.
Yes.
Motion carries. Going on to 8.14, employment of extracurricular personnel. And let me just pull up the recommendation. These would need to be done separately.
We could, yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
Might as
Okay, 8.14A, approve the employment of Krista Hygrader, the sophomore executive board sponsor. Is there a motion to approve as recommended?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. Roll call, please.
Essek,
Yes.
McNabb,
Yes.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Ward.
Yes. Motion carries. 8.14B, approve the employment of Amanda Peterson for the assistant swim coach as presented. Is there a motion to accept the employment?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, motion second. Roll call, please.
McNabb,
Yes.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Essek.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries.
Can I touch base on
Sure.
these next two real quick?
Yes, please do, because I was starting to get confused why we've got so many soccer coaches going.
Okay. So here, Nathan Sidwell was formerly our head girls soccer coach. So he was hired as the head boys soccer coach, resigned from the head girls position. So now he's asking to come in as the assistant girls soccer coach.
So he's going to be the head boys soccer coach and the assistant girls soccer.
Correct.
Okay?
And Joey Waters was hired as the head girls soccer coach, resigned his position as assistant boys soccer coach, then realized he could do both, put in a new application after we approved his resignation. So we're hiring him for the position that he actually filled the last 3 years.
Thank you for the explanation.
Well, I do know we accepted the resignation, so, and then now they're becoming soccer coaches again, so I didn't know if he twisted their arms to become soccer.
No, he came in the next day and said, hey, can I rescind my resignation? And my response was, it's a little late after the board approves it. So I guess you can reapply.
So these two gentlemen are going to have a lot of soccer.
They're gonna have a lot of
fall and
soccer,
spring.
yes.
And do they work well together, I believe?
They do.
Right.
They do.
That'd be good. Okay, so moving on to 8.14C, approve the employment of Joel Watchers as the assistant boys soccer coach.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second, roll call, please.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes.
Hessen?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, thank you. 8.14D, approve the employment of Nathan Sidwell for the assistant girls soccer coach.
So moved.
Yeah, is there a motion? That's okay.
Just trying to move
Motion.
things along.
I'll second.
Motion is second, roll call, please.
Ward?
Yes.
Hessen?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Or they changed their
Tell them
mind.
that they are now the soccer.
I will, and I'll also tell them I will not accept any more resignations. You're here at least a year.
All right, and that's all with personnel. Moving on to 8.2, approve the bids for the roof. Did you want to talk about the roof bidding, how that came in? and-
Bids came in really well, and this is for the academic edition. Okay, so the horseshoe, and you may have noticed, we talked about, and this is just a real quick, simple explanation of how we did this time. We're able to purchase all of the materials for the roof through a governmental purchasing program, which had already been vetted and bidded out, so we can just go in and purchase that material. So when we put out the bid was really for labor, and that's what you have there. The bids came in around $100,000 less than we projected, which means overall the project right now is about $100,000 less than we projected. So that's a good thing. So in order to get the materials here quickly, we asked if we could. We did a straw poll, talked to everybody. We went ahead and put the lead out so that they could get the stuff here. You might see it on the edge of the roof because they delivered it Monday? No, Friday of last week. Today's Monday, so.
But they can't start the job till we actually approve this.
Correct, yeah, so we kind of need you to approve it, or they're gonna have to move all that stuff off the roof.
And that could be expensive,
It could be.
because they don't want to move it back
So-
once they get it out there.
But this was a really good, we were very pleased with the response. They had 3 good, I mean, Kryling's a great outfit, we know they'll do a great job for us. And all 3 are very good, competent contractors, so.
And this is for the vitamin roof with the 30-year
Yes,
warranty, correct?
30-year warranty.
That's one.
And then the other point of interest, it's by going through this, going through the Garland Roofing, is they guarantee, they will be out within every 2 years to do a complete survey and assessment of the roof system. And so that's what you don't typically get with the, the TPO type roof. Once it's installed, they're done with it. So the Garland Roofing system carries that warranty. They will come on out, do thermal scans of it, make any determination if there's any leaks in any areas, and then they're on the hook for the repairs of that. So the other point of interest is we met with Kryling's CEO Friday. She was out. She is going to assign 2 crews to this. So timing is perfect on this. We really didn't anticipate getting this kind of bid result back in such a short, compressed period of time. But with summer school being done, and then we have the shutdown week, we can get roofers up on the roof because they're not in daily contact with the students, and so the timing couldn't really be any better than this.
So they might start as early as tomorrow,
Yep.
if you approve tonight, so.
I'll let Ryan know tonight the results.
So the bid opening was on June 28th at 10 a.m. As presented, the bid summary sheet, and Kryling Roofing was the lowest bidder. Is a recommendation to approve Kryling Roofing as contractor for the roof replacement with the project with the base bid of $353,811. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Hessen?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Knopfinger?
Yes.
Ward?
Yes. Okay, motion carries. You probably can get in touch with her and tell her I can see
Like
her.
mine.
in the meeting. Okay, perfect.
Oh, just so you know, Ryan also told us that the roof that's currently over the academic section is the same type of roof, and it's been there for 45 years.
I think it's part of the original roof. It may have had some patches and repairs along the way.
So pretty
this
good
is
product?
This is a good product.
Yeah, roof leaks are never a good thing, so. Okay, moving on to, let's see where we're at. 8.3, approve the cooperative boys and girls lacrosse agreement with Metamora Township High School. They sent it and they're gonna,
Yes.
they want to co-op with
They
us,
do.
correct?
Correct.
Okay,
And it's basically, at heart, the same agreement that we have for swimming.
okay.
So the co-op rules are the same. They have to get their kids here, and they'll pay a portion of the cost.
Is it for 1 year only, or I see here it's for 2 years?
Yeah,
2
it's
years?
usually a
2 year
two-year agreement.
2-year agreement. Was there any other neighboring community schools that wanted in on the co-op?
There might be one more. They're
Okay,
in
'Cause we did talk
discussions.
about that.
Yeah.
There's a lot
So
of
it's not
thought.
too late for them to,
No, we have time.
we have plenty of time, 'cause
That
that's
doesn't
fall
have
or
to.
spring work.
Yeah.
There's a lot of thought put into that when I read it, all the details.
Mhm.
So shouldn't have too many problems bringing up with the planning that's being done.
You know, we've worked well together with Metamora in the past. Mechanical Monarchy,
Yeah.
our robotics program, started out as a.
Morris Orders.
Mhm.
Is there a motion to approve the cooperative boys-girls lacrosse agreement between the Metamora Township High School District 122 and Washington Community High School District 308 for the 2018-19 and the 2019-20 school years as presented?
So moved.
second.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
McNett,
Yes.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Hessen.
Yeah.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to the executive session. And we just have to do the appointment of compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of a specific employee of the district or legal counsel of the district, including the hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee or against a legal counsel for the district to determine its fidelity. 9.2, discussion for lawfully closed minute meetings, whether the purpose of approval by the board, the body of the minutes of the semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by section 2.06. And then, and number 10, there have been action following the executive session. Did I read that?
The two actions will be approving which, if any, of the executive session minutes will go over, and reaffirming the agreement.
Is there a motion to move into executive session?
So moved.
Motion and second. Roll call, please.
Knopfinger,
Yes.
Ward,
Yes.
Hessen.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Steve Joe looked it up real quick. He said